Mailbag questions, Spencer scale of agreement, trivia questions, send them all via YouTube comments, Twitter, become a Locked On Ducks Insider. That's the easiest way. You can get a free 14-day trial. Link in the description below. Bobby asks about secret weapons. Who could be Oregon's secret weapons this year? This took a little bit of thinking. There was one name in particular that popped into my head. Toby Hastrup keeps getting a lot of praise along the defensive line. 4-star true freshman, coming off the edge, just gets rave reviews for being a physical freak. Is an international recruit from London originally, guy who has not played a lot of football in his life, but appears to be picking it up quickly. Here's where my mind went to first, because that's a name that's gotten tossed around by players and coaches so many times it's become hard to ignore at this point. On the flip side of the coin, that defensive line has got so many guys, so many dudes. And I think when you use the term secret weapon, Oregon, it's not Oregon specific. I don't know why I said Oregon there. That was like a subconscious verbalization or something. Anyway. For Oregon. That's what I meant to say. But it applies to any team. I think you're thinking the offensive side of the ball. So I did think about Noah Whittington as a secret weapon of sorts. But then I thought, well, is Noah Whittington really a secret? Can he be employed enough to fit this category? Like, I don't know exactly what classifies as a secret weapon for Oregon this year. Kenyon Sadiq is not sneaking up on anybody. Mekhi Hughes is a preseason second-team All-American. So is Dylan Thieneman and Mateo Uyunglele. They're on the preseason All-America teams. Those guys are not sneaking up on anybody. But his secret weapon, let me throw a couple of names at you. And I think this is mostly going to be on the offensive side of the ball. But I'm going to start with a name that several of you, see if you can pick up the context clues and see how this is going to be as I explain this out. Several of you have asked questions about this guy before. Offensive player. He's been around for a while. I've gotten a question in the past about him changing positions. And he has not had a significant role in the Oregon offense this year. He looked like he was going to have one a season ago, and then the injury bug caught him. Kyler Kasper's a name that pops into my head when you say secret weapons, because this is not a guy who's been featured heavily in any of his 3 seasons before. He's going into year 4, so we know he's physically ready. If you watched Under Construction last week, you saw that he was at the leadership retreat, which in Dan Lanning's own words was a collection of guys who aren't necessarily leaders but have the ability to be leaders on the football team. And the reason I put him in the secret weapon capability range is because he's 6'5", he runs and can jump. There aren't that many of those guys. Kenyon Sadiq is 6'4". Kasper is like 6'5", 6'6". But he plays out on the perimeter. Sadiq, of course, Sadiq can line up on the perimeter too. He can line up literally anywhere on the field and have success. That's why he's awesome. But I don't know that teams are going to be able to have any film, at least early in the year, on Kyler Kasper if suddenly Oregon takes some downfield shots. Malik Benson, for the same reason, popped into my head here as, hey, this is someone who could absolutely get unleashed on defenses across Oregon's schedule this year that no one was really talking about. You know, Benson is a guy who, frankly, I have heralded, under-heralded, not heralded as much. I don't know exactly what phrase I'm going for here, but I'm recording late at night tonight, so my brain's all over the place. It's been a long day. I traveled. Anyway, so, you know, Benson is a transfer who I don't have high expectations for. I don't look at him as, oh my gosh, he needs to be Evan Stewart from last year. He's a veteran receiver, former highly rated recruit, was at a big school. No, I look at him and say, anything you get from him is a plus, but do you need him to be a major contributor on the offensive side of things? No, I don't think you need him to be that because there's legitimate wide receiver depth. I heard Josh Pate recently, one of you asked me about this. He was talking about Oregon's receiver room and said, boy, without Evan Stewart, I don't know if they have the wide receiver depth. I get why you'd say that, because you don't have proven guys in the wide receiver room. You just have a lot of on-paper talent that has to go out and prove it. I get why he'd say that as a National College Football Show host. The reason Dakorien Moore doesn't fit into the secret weapons conversation is he's number one receiver in the class. You don't have college tape on him yet, but he's not sneaking up on anybody. So another one I will throw out there is not one name in particular, but a number 3 running back. Maybe it's Jay Harris. Maybe it's De'Aaron Hill. Maybe it's Dink Riggs. Maybe it's Jaden Lamar. And I don't think Lamar's got, a trait. Like, he's solid, don't get me wrong. I don't think he has a trait that will allow him to be special enough to be considered, a secret weapon that gets unleashed and starts making a bunch of big impact plays. Like, no, he's solid. He's like a little bit thicker. Travis Dye doesn't have quite the agility, but he's solid. Hero of the Boise State game last year, Jaden Lamar, forever and always. So those are the guys I'd say. And of course, I can't finish this conversation and not talk about Luke Moga, because no one's expecting Moga to have a role, but once he takes a red zone snap this year and runs it in, suddenly defensive coordinators are going to have one more thing to prepare for. I'd be really, really here for that. So, yeah, let me know your secret weapons. If you want to throw some out there on defense, okay, I think it's more applicable to offense. If you think I missed anybody, that's a secret weapon. Secret weapon. Zach Grace is the name. Anyway, one of my Locked On Ducks insiders out there said, hey, Spencer, hope you're having a great morning. I did have a great morning. Wanted to get your thoughts on the show about the potential that this Oregon team could scheme some of their early games like the 2023 Michigan team that seemed like they only threw the ball 10 to 15 times a game to not only not overload Dante Moore with essentially new starting receivers, but with said receivers not heavily rely on them early on as they see a larger role. Don't get me wrong, the talent's there, but the production might not be, as I said, i.e. a Ty Thompson situation. Receiver and quarterback are very different there. I can see Kenyon Sadiq being the leading receiver by a wide margin this season. It'd be the first time that's ever happened, but if ever there was a year for a tight end to lead Oregon in receiving yards, this would be the year. You lose your veteran, you lose another potential contributor in Jurion Dickey for an indefinite amount of time, and Sadiq is tight end 1 and a total freak of an athlete. So, yeah, he's going to get the ball a lot, and I can't wait for that. That Michigan team, they had J.J. McCarthy at quarterback, future first-round pick, mostly because he's big, fast, and has a big arm, not because he was a great quarterback necessarily. I think he was good, but he was not great. He didn't put up huge numbers. I don't think Will Stein is going to change his philosophy just to protect Dante Moore and the receivers a little more. This would fall, if they did run it more, which I could see them doing, I think it would fall more into the camp of easing Dante into the fold than easing the receivers into the fold. Like, receivers, one of the easiest positions on the field on either side to go from high school to college or to Purdue. I'm not saying it's easy. It is nothing. Nothing in football in the Big Ten is easy, but it's one of the easier ones. It's one of the more translatable positions right away for young guys to contribute. So, yeah, I don't think Oregon is going to go, be what Seiko has said Penn State could be this year. He said, hey, Penn State could be 2023 Michigan. We've got 2 NFL running backs, a great offensive line, and a quarterback who, we don't want to rely on necessarily, but is still good and can make plays when called upon, and will be a first-round pick because of physical traits. Yeah, they do have all those similarities to that 2023 Michigan team. Oregon, on the other end, does not, and Will Stein, with 2 different quarterbacks, has had a lot of success. And yeah, there might be some bumps in the road and growing pains for Dante Moore early in the season, but I'm going to tag a 2 on the Spencer scale of agreement here that, you'll see games where Dante Moore only throws the ball 15 times. Will Stein has too many RPO tags into the run game to allow for that to happen, and quarterbacks often have an instinct to pull that ball out. Certainly, I think Bo and Dillon did plenty of times, which I understand, but I don't think there's going to be that big of a change in, the way the offense looks or what they're trying to accomplish. There'll just be a change in how they perform or hopefully not, and that, we hope the offense is just a seamless transition from last year. But, Dante Moore throwing the ball 12 times in a game, no, I can never see that happening.